6. I can't ride a horse, Yui said, her face strained and desperate. Even in the fog, I could see sweat pouring from her forehead down to her jaw. Yui was riding a white wooden unicorn, taking delicate, dignified little steps. That was actually better than most of our horses. Most of ours were the bouncy type. Every meter forward felt like we went up and down another meter simultaneously. It was like being a Western cowboy who can stay on a wild horse the longest without reins or saddle competition. Just hold on. You'll get used to it, I encouraged Yui while guiding her away from the giant wolf. That corpse should keep it occupied for a while. Though it was unpleasant, the 10-minute game time was probably more than half over. I could endure this. But not everyone thought so. I can't take it anymore, a man in red clothes cried, leaping off his bouncing horse. With 2 legs, you run faster than a wooden horse. But with 4 legs, you're even faster. A black shadow rushed through the fog. The man in red only managed a muffled grunt before he fell under the wolf's claws and blood-soaked jaws. Don't try to fight the game mechanics, I heard someone say. Turning, it was the bespectacled guy from before who'd mentioned punishment systems. His checkered shirt suggested he was probably a programmer. Programmers generally had strong logical abilities. The game did have mechanics, like you couldn't hide and avoid participation. You couldn't opt out of designated challenges. In the carousel ride, the mechanic must be, you can't leave your horse. We could only survive by working within the allowed parameters. Don't leave your horse. I warned Yui. Can I join you guys? The programmer asked. You two first noticed something was wrong on the pirate ship. I think I have the best survival odds staying with you. The compliment was appreciated. I didn't mind gaining another logical thinker as an ally. We controlled our horses towards safety, away from the giant wolf, stumbling along until we collided with the red headband group, forming a larger alliance. More people meant more courage. And apparently slightly better thinking too. How is it not 10 minutes yet? Someone asked. Weird, I thought it was already over, someone else said. A bone-chilling wolf howl echoed from far away. A terrible thought suddenly occurred to me. Could it be? The game rules changed, Yui said. She'd adapted to the unicorn's rhythm and had regained her calm expression. Suddenly, the wolf's howl rushed closer. Don't look. Without thinking, I pulled Yui against me and held her tight. 2 unlucky souls in front of us were knocked down by the wolf's claws. The wolf stood on their heads, its eyes like torches, staring directly at me. We were less than 6 feet apart. I pressed Yui's head against my chest, keeping her from seeing those crimson wolf eyes. Seeing them would drive her mad. I was only managing not to go mad because... Mommy, Daddy. Someone else broke down, leaping off their horse and running wildly through the fog. The wolf glared at me for a moment, then turned and bit off that person's head in a single snapping motion. I drove my horse forward desperately. Yui gripped tight. Time was passing. Lives were passing. The number of unfortunate souls the wolf could hunt was dwindling. Maybe the next one would be... Got any ideas? The programmer caught up from another route, falling in beside us. The fog made us completely disoriented, so... I think the challenge is to find the exit, I said. How the hell do we find anything? We can't see anything, groaned the red headband group, who somehow we'd collided with again. Did any of you come here before? To this amusement park? One of them asked desperately. Even if you can't see clearly, you should remember the way, right? Remember the way, I mused, a thought flickering at the edge of my mind. It was like a story I'd heard as a child, but the realization remained just out of reach. We don't need to remember the way ourselves, Yui suddenly said, tilting her head up and tossing her hair. Actually, we don't need people to remember at all. Bingo! The story came back to me. In ancient China, a feudal lord once led his army on an expedition. His strategist accompanied him. The army became lost in a mountain valley and wandered for days, unable to find the exit. Supplies were running out. The strategist had an idea. He said that old horses had an innate ability to find their way home. They could let old horses lead the way and guide the army out of the valley. The lord agreed to try. The strategist selected several old horses, removed their reins, and let them walk freely at the army's head. Remarkably, all the horses headed unhesitatingly in one direction. The army followed, twisting through valleys, until finally they emerged from the mountains. Of course, I had no time to tell this story now. I just commanded, "Find the oldest horse." The oldest horse? We're riding wooden horses, though, the programmer said, confused. For wooden horses, find whoever's mount looks most worn, with the most scratches, Yui added. We quickly found the most decrepit black horse. I told its rider, "Now don't control it. Let it walk freely. Trust the horse." Will this really work? The rider asked hesitantly, but followed my instructions, letting his hands rest lightly on the horse. The black horse began to move. We followed anxiously, careful not to make a sound, afraid of drawing the wolf's attention. Time passed in endless fog until we heard the amusement park music again. The fog was receding behind us now. I looked at this group of fellow survivors we'd been through hell with and finally took a deep breath. We were alive. For now, at least.